Hello my dear friends, in my earlier videos also, in many videos I have talked about Vedic astrology, the great ancient science and art of Vedic astrology. And I have mentioned many times that astrology is generally misused, not used in the right way for which it is meant to be. Knowledge of astrology teaches you about life, purpose of life, how to live life free from sorrow and suffering. It teaches you so many things. But it is sad to say that people don't take it in the right perspective. When someone is passing through a bad time, unfavorable time, things are not working, then the person decides to go to an astrologer. In most of the cases, the birth time is not, accurate birth time is not available. But I've seen no astrologer is going to let you go if you do not have correct birth time. They say that they will correct your birth time, which makes me laugh. You cannot correct anyone's birth time, right? Then another thing, they misguide you that your horoscope says that something serious is going to happen during this period with certainty, they say. Then they suggest you remedial cures, measures. Now the main fault here is that your past, of course your past is unalterable, right? Whatever you did, good or bad, is there. You cannot alter it. But the future can be altered, can be redesigned. Our Vedas say that you are the master of your destiny. How can an astrologer tell you that this is going to happen certainly? No. That conditions a person in a negative sense. That is why I do not provide consultations. I am a qualified astrologer, but I prefer not to give consultations, because then you cannot satisfy people, They want quick remedies, nothing else. They don't want to learn what are their shortcomings, what wrong they did in the past. Everything can be seen if your birth data is accurate, okay? How can you change your destiny? Where you need to focus, what things you did wrong in your previous lives, and all that. Nobody has interest in all these things, and nobody is there to guide in this respect. Astrology, Vedic astrology, is a great science, but it is not just a fortune telling science. It is Vedang. There are 6 Vedangs. We have 4 Vedas, and the rishis conveyed that in order to master the Vedas, in order to understand the great rare knowledge contained in the Vedas, you need to have certain prerequisites, and one of them is The knowledge of Vedic astrology. Because in the material sense, in the worldly sense, all material life is under influence of planets and stars. So, knowledge of astrology gives you knowledge of the purpose of life and how to mold things, how to mold your destiny in the right way. Right? Now, it could be that you do not believe me, so I thought of telling you something from this great book by the great sage Paramahansa Yogananda ji, Autobiography of Yogi. It's a wonderful book, contains rare knowledge given by an enlightened master, right? Now in this book, the great sage says, a child is born on that day and at that hour when the celestial rays are in mathematical harmony with his individual karma, right? His horoscope is a challenging portrait revealing his unalterable past and its probable future results. See, give attention to this word, probable. He says, unalterable past, agreed, and its probable future results. The future results are not certainties. Whatever is indicated in your accurately made horoscope are not 100% certainties that this will happen definitely. No. Your horoscope was the map of the skies at the time of your birth, right? When you were born. Now, if you are 25 years old or 30 years old, then on which side, on what lines you developed yourself, that is not indicated here in the horoscope. Probabilities are there. So, your future is in your hands. Now this great sage, what he is saying, give attention to it, that the time of birth is pre-selected because it has to match with your previous karma and what lessons you need to learn in your present life. So you have to be born under certain planetary conditions, because everything, every life on this earth is under influence of planetary forces, planets and stars, right? So it is important to know that the future indications are probabilities only. Then further he says, the message boldly blazoned across the heavens at the moment of birth is not meant to emphasize fate, the result of past good and evil, but to arouse man's will to escape from his universal thraldom. What he has done, he can undo. None other than himself was the instigator of the causes of whatever effects are now prevalent in his life. He can overcome any limitation because he created it by his own actions in the first place, and because he possesses, see, this is very important, give attention to it, and because he possesses spiritual resources that are not subject to planetary pressures. This is the subtle point which astrologers are not going to tell you, right? Because he says every man possesses spiritual resources that are not subject to planetary pressures. Right? Worldly things are under planetary control, influences. But the powers, the latent spiritual powers which you have inside, on the basis of which our Vedas say, Aham Brahmasmi, Amritasya Putra, those powers need to be awakened so that you can overcome the bad effects of your previous karma, bad karma, and you can mold your destiny in the right way, in the right path. So those spiritual powers are not under planetary pressures. That is what this sage is saying. Don't believe me, but believe him. He was an enlightened sage. Then further, let me read further, it is interesting. Superstitious awe of astrology makes one an automation, slavishly dependent on mechanical guidance. The wise man defeats his planets, which is to say his past, by transferring his allegiance from the creation to the creator. That is what our Bhagavad Gita also says, surrender. Right? That is what is meant by from the creation to the creator. And you are that. Kutastha Brahma. Things are to be realized. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't need any path. Because if you suppose a path, that means you mean to say that there is path is when the destination is at a distance. But everything when it is inside you, then you don't need a path. You just need to realize. But for that, you have to follow yoga. And the first step in yoga is Chitvritti Nirodha, silencing your mind, calming your mind, because it is in your mind only. It is your mind which can be your slave if it is controlled, or if it is controlling you, it can be your master. And the mind is never a good master. It can be a good slave. So I hope this video will enlighten you about what astrology is really meant for, and also don't believe that your future is unalterable. It is alterable. Believe the great sages. Thank you for watching.